So in building my setting assets, I have kind of my master file. I've shrunk it down to 8 by 8 inches by 150 pixels per inch. I've stretched out the sky so that I can move that, or rather use that as an asset that will change in the animation. Right, very nice. I also have texture fills that I can also use, right? These kind of clouds. But anything I can kind of merge and clean up, I want to. I need this as a separate asset so that as my creature climbs up onto this, he goes behind this little ice bridge. And I might even cut that off and change it. We will see. Probably not, though. It's just more work. Now, for the foreground, I can merge a lot of this. I can merge the beach with all of these bits of ice. And I select them all with Shift and then Command E to merge them. I guess I can merge that too, those shells. And now these texture fills, it's a great asset because, again, I can stretch it out. And I can move that across. Stretch it out even more. So cropping makes everything 8 by 8 inches, but then you can transform them and extend them for panning elements, should you want to. So that will be useful. And then I have the breadth of my character, which is going to be a little weird looking. So I'm going to customize that asset. By cutting it out, duplicating it, deleting the one behind, and then Gaussian blurring. Go blur, Gaussian blur. It's the only filter I use with regularity because it's a very controllable filter. So I don't feel like it's someone at Adobe making artistic decisions for me. It's one I can control. So yes, this column of breadth is something that I can make use of. And I'll probably adapt further. And that one's interesting enough that I might give it a color and label it. So I have my breadth as an element. I have mist as an element. I have the foreground. If you have a character interacting with your landscape in a major way, it's good to identify your foreground elements and your middle ground elements. So I'll call this glacier tip. It's great to have this as a separate element because that's going to be the first place that melts, right? On the top of this glacier. This is additional mist, more mist. And then this is the middle ground. The thing my creature is most going to interact with. And then the background. And then the sky. Okay, so just in this one file, without having to create anything new, I have a lot of useful setting assets. And I already have my creature asset there just left from assignment 3. But I'll turn them off for now and they're marked red. Okay, so does this pretty much look like my first keyframe? It does, because my first keyframe is just an establishing shot. It doesn't have a character yet. So if I have that, this is what I do. I go to the very top layer, and I hold down Option, and I say Layer, Merge Visible. And that puts it all onto one layer. Then, and this is what we're going to be doing a lot of, and that's why we have at least 2 files open, I'm going to select all, and the shortcut for that is Command A. That selects that entire layer, every pixel on it, and it's combined so it completely fills up. And this is like if I was making a stop motion movie, like a claymation movie. I've set up my scene, and this will be the first bit of film. Now I have to take the picture. So when I hold down Option and Merge Visible, it takes the picture of everything I've set up with my assets, and it puts it on a layer on top of everything. But if I leave that layer there, it's going to be confusing, right? It's going to hide everything I do underneath for future frames. So now I flattened it, now I select it all, and now I copy it. So Command C, or Edit Copy. And now I go to my stage, and I do Command V, or Edit Paste. And it puts it in. So in our stage, this is our actual film strip. And so this is my first, I'm going to do it pretty much frame by frame here. And my first image is this image. Okay. Now I'm going to work with my next keyframe when I introduce my character. So I'm going to go to my assets file. And now I'm going to bring in my character. But first I have to delete this merged layer that's on the top of everything. So I deselect with Command D, and then I delete that layer. And now I'm able to set up my next thing. Now I can just use this character that's already in there, and notice I have auto select for layer turned off so that I have to click on the layer to be able to manipulate it. And basically I can just have my creature appear like this and climb up, bump, 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 and settle down. We're not going to do sound effects for this, so it's good to add your own. And if I have those assets, great. If I don't have those assets, that's where I go back to my folder. And this is why it's different for everybody. And I go to my character assets. And where do I get my character asset from? Most likely from assignment 2. Now it depends what you're animating on your character, right? Do you want the PSD or do you want the cutout PNG? So if you're going to animate aspects of your character, let's start with the PSD. Because this gives you different layers, right? Things that can be moved. And for instance, I don't want to just have my character be a flat cutout that moves. I want to have its head move. Maybe have its body shake a little bit as it's climbing up. He doesn't have like 4 long legs. I don't have to go through a whole walk cycle, but previous demos I've done of this will show you how to set up a walk cycle, which is pretty complicated and takes a while, but it's good to know. But I do, just like I did with my landscape, I know my character is never going to be bigger than this within my animation. So I'm going to go to my image size, and I'm going to limit it to 8 inches by 150 pixels per inch. Notice I'm not making it 8 by 8 inches, and I'm not cropping it. But this is a character asset. And now I want to clean it up. I don't need my sketch. I don't need a gray background because he's already pretty cleanly cut out. I've done that job well. And I don't think I need this like gloss soft light effect over the top of everything. And basically I get to build him. There's his body, there's his tail. Why would I want those to be 2 different assets? Well, what if I want to move his tail separate from his body? Right? That might be useful. So I'll keep that. But let's clean it up. Let's make it a better puppet. So where this overlaps, I'm going to erase anything that's not helpful. So I'm going to use a 100% eraser here. soft-edged, because remember, we don't need to work with great precision on GIF animations. They're low resolution. I want to preserve some overlap if I can. I might even do clone stamp right on the layer, which I don't usually do. And paint in some additional overlap for the tail. Okay, so now let's look at it. I've got this chunk, and I've got this tail, and now these are puppet assets, and I can move that tail and warp it and rotate it to suit my needs. So it's good to have those separated as character assets. Then I've got the fins. And those might move. For instance, depending on how rigid they are, I could use warp, and they could kind of shuffle and move with each movement of my creature, right? So it's good to keep those separate. I've got that head, that foot. So let's think about this. This foot, I probably want to merge with the layer of the body underneath. All right, so I'm going to select those two and Command E, merge them together. Because that foot will never not be part of this body. Now, why might I want to keep that foot separate? Well, what if I wanted to move it? Right? So you design kind of the complexity of your puppet. Just like if I was doing a claymation film, I'd have the setting department work on backgrounds, and I'd have the character department build different variations of models, different puppets that can move in the different ways that my storyboard requires. And it's hard not to get kind of power mad here and just like preserve everything. But I know that the horns and this texture on his face, they're going to work together. You know, they're never going to move independent of each other, along with the head. But it's good to have the head as a separate element. So I've merged that, and I might label it head, right? I might label these fins. I might label fins as, what can I say? Back fins. That doesn't work either. What can I call them? Well, these are the flippers. That's what I'm saying. So like the ridges. I'll call them the ruffles. They look like ruffles. The chips. Anyway, whatever helps you. Then I'm going to have the tail flippers. Then I'm going to have one front leg, because that's the only thing I have an asset for. Then I have the torso. And then what am I missing? Oh, the tusks. Now, are the tusks always going to move with the head? Yeah. So I can just merge those in with the head. I don't need that. Do I need my clone stamping to make it look better? I could, but the problem is then that's an extra asset I will always have to kind of build in. So I'm going to simplify. And unless I can combine this with something I already have, I'm just going to delete it. And so the character asset I'm using is somewhat flawed. You know, just like the real Superman that's on stage in a live action set is not the same as an action figure puppet Superman. And we're creating an action figure puppet version of our character so that we can pose it. So I'm going to sacrifice my beautifully rendered image just a little bit for this guy who's got all of these moving parts. See? Oh, is that okay with you? Yes. So much fun. All right. So I'm kind of intentionally messing with them, moving them a little bit, not worrying if they line up exactly. I'm trying to create a character model with assets that are versatile, right? So what did that mean? Well, what if I wanted to make my character